I worry very much that President Biden is putting himself in a position where he has alienated not just young people, but a lot of the Democratic base.
Senator Bernie Sanders was on CNN to discuss these campus protests, the ongoing mass atrocities being committed in Gaza, as well as how this relates to Joe Biden. Now, I'm going to get to three clips here. The way that especially he gets to or discusses Joe Biden's role in this, I have to imagine, Bernie knows Joe Biden. I'm sure they have conversations. I'm sure he's tried to get through to him privately. But the fact that he is going public with a statement like this, I have to imagine he's having a tough time getting through to the obvious ideology that Biden has on this topic in a way that he doesn't really have for a lot of issues. Because Biden up to now has largely been able to, is very malleable in the sense that if public polling shows a certain thing, he will then do something to support what the public supports. For example, the recent rescheduling of cannabis or student debt cancellation. Like, there are things that he's been moved on. But on Israel, he is unmovable up to this point. So the hope here, I would think, is a message like this getting through to Joe Biden, or at least platforming this idea and trying to get into his head. So I'm going to start here with his first comments.
Obviously, America has massive leverage because of its very strong, full-throated, shoulder-to-shoulder, all those words, alliance with Israel and all the billions of dollars that it sends. But do you think the students are reacting to the fact that their government does not seem to be using any leverage?
Yes, of course they are. Look, it is one thing if a terrible tragedy or a terrible war takes place in some part of the world where the United States really has no involvement. That is not the case in Gaza. The United States of America has historically and is right now, the legislation that you talked about, we're talking about over $19 billion more dollars going to Israel, including $10 billion in unfettered military aid. So, of course, the United States government has the right to say to Netanyahu, guess what? You're not getting another nickel unless you let humanitarian aid go in, unless you stop the imminent famine, which we are seeing, unless we move toward a two-state solution. When you are paying the bills, you call the tunes. Has the United States government done that? No, it has not. And I think students and the American people understand that that is very wrong.
All right, so for anyone that's been following this, this is a very obvious point, but it is one that is often not discussed in the coverage of what is going on, especially in the coverage of these campus protests, because there's often this retort or this criticism, oh, why are these students so focused on Israel? It's because the U.S. government is funding Israel as they are doing this. It is because their universities, their finances are intertwined with Israel as Israel is committing these acts. This is why the focus is where it is. So, one of the dumbest criticisms I've seen since the beginning of this is, why aren't people protesting to bring the hostages home? As if what? Is the U.S. government, are they the ones funding the individuals holding the hostages? What is the pressure point there? What would be the point of protesting what your government is already trying to do? Not to mention